More on what we can expect from the local market today with Stan Shamu from IG standing by. Stan, thanks so much for your time. Let's start with the local market and 10 a.m. and what we should be expecting. SPI futures aren't showing up too much at the moment, which isn't any surprise considering we have US markets closed for that public holiday. So where will we be taking our lead from?
Yeah, at the moment we're actually looking at a flat open for the local market at 503 level, 5063 level. Of course, we've seen a monster rally in the local market over the past few weeks, and the earnings season has really gotten off to a flyer and has really helped the market extend its gains and build upon some of that base that we saw over the past 3 months or so. Today, of course, we've got a few stocks like Arium, Coca-Cola, we've got Aussie, we've got Montdelphis on the calendar, and it's quite optimistic, I suppose, ahead of these earnings, particularly with the mining services companies. Of course, we saw Bradkin come out quite strongly last week and highlighted a pretty strong improvement in some of these mining companies and the demand for its mining products. So I think there'll be a lot of optimism for some of these companies, and because they're coming off a fairly low base after resource names had been smashed last year and really came across with a lot of deep spending cuts, which were affecting some of the contracts that these mining services companies had. So we can expect to see some revival in these names. At the same time, Coca-Cola has always been solid. They've got defensive earnings. Of course, they're one of the consumer staples out there. They'll probably continue to give us more commentary on how their divestment into their investment into alcohol is going, and of course they're quite a big diverse company geographically, so this also helps shield them from some of the economic problems that different markets have. In terms of Arium, that's probably going to be one of the more interesting ones. Of course, they set themselves up quite well yesterday with their stock rallying to a 9-month high, of course, after announcing that change in guard. We'll have to see how their earnings come out. I mean, some have come out, and some analysts have suggested that it's not too positive to see a change in guard the day before results are announced. But given the recent rally that we've seen in the stock, it seems they're back on the right path. Of course, we had BlueScope Steel come out yesterday, and they were quite positive. They're really changing things around and trying to divest out of some of those underperforming assets, particularly in the exports business. So we'll have to see how Arium fares today, but I think that will probably be one of the more significant reports of the day, with a lot of potential for volatility after a big rally in its shares yesterday. At the same time, moving on to the resource names, we've got the gold names likely to remain under pressure. Of course, the precious metal has been struggling for a while, and I think there are growing calls of a deeper correction for gold at the moment, so we'll probably see them struggle today. With iron ore, of course, we don't have ADRs today. US markets were closed, so we'll have to go by the lead of how iron ore performed, and it ticked higher up to about that 157.20 mark, so that might lift some of the iron ore names today. Of course, there will be some stocks going ex-div as well. So about 4.5 points come out of the market. Of course, we've got this priced in already in that flat open, so it probably won't make too much of a difference. But we'll see some names like Computershare trade weaker on that. But given the recent run we've seen, a lot of investors have been happy to buy the dips, so we can look at some of these stocks that trade ex-div to be bought up. We saw the same thing happen with Telstra and Commonwealth Bank yesterday, so that will probably be one of the trends that we'll be seeing throughout this reporting season.
We'll also hear from a couple of central banks today. First of all, the Bank of Japan. That was the meeting back, though, around January 21-22. So how relevant is that going to be in terms of currency movements?
Yeah, we've actually seen some of these currency pairs are relatively sidelined heading into these monetary policy minutes. So with the yen at the moment, I think that the main issue was more about Prime Minister Abe's selection for the next BOJ governor. Of course, they didn't change any policy last week when they came out, but I think what we'll probably continue to listen out for comments regarding asset purchases going forward and who they'll select as the next BOJ governor. I think the next source of volatility will be the candidate that actually gets appointed, and that will probably see the dollar yen make a move from that 94 level where it just seems to be sort of stuck in at the moment.
Yeah.
In terms of the
Sorry, I was going to say, yes, we also have the Reserve Bank minutes out today from the February meeting. Sometimes there is a bit of a tone in terms of, or a change of tone in terms of the statement that we got out when the decision was made and the statement that we're getting out today. So we could potentially see some movement in the Australian dollar?
Yeah, absolutely. The way it's trading at the moment, just hanging around that 103, suggests that there are a few nerves heading into the RBA's monetary policy meeting minutes. So I think that the main things to look out for from that statement will be growth expectations and of course how they feel about weak PMIs and of course the mining cycle. That will probably be the game changer in terms of what happens with rates next month. At the moment, I think the swaps markets have dropped to around 31% chance of a rate cut next month. They were at around 50% not too long ago, so it certainly seems like the improvement in particularly the market and the conditions that we're seeing for some of these companies, particularly with business conditions and consumer sentiment figures from some of the banks, maybe this will see the RBA just hold off a little bit longer. But many still feel there's a lot of downside or downward pressure in interest rates. So by that notion, selling the Aussie dollar into strength is probably going to be the preferred strategy, particularly into that 1038 level. That was where the recent highs were. And this will probably see traders put stops above 104 and target that 103 to 1025 range for any drop in the Aussie dollar. So I think that will continue to be the main theme, selling it into strength. Today we might well see a situation where things don't seem as bad as everyone expected it to be, and that will cause a short-term relief rally, and then it will be sold off into that.
Okay, Stan Shamu from IG, thanks for telling us all of that this morning. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Kate.
Telecom New Zealand, Telstra and Vodafone will jointly invest in a new submarine telecommunications cable connecting Auckland and Sydney. The Tasman Global Access cable is expected to cost under 60 million New Zealand dollars and will allow for 300 times the amount of current internet data out of New Zealand. The telcos are expected to finalise the design in the next few months, with completion expected